Hey, everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 93. We're got through Christmas. We all made it. So getting back on the mic here at Big Box Steve, Fresh Wes, and Big Smooth. Uh, how's Christmas? Christmas good for everybody?
Busy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
It was a gauntlet.
I saw that on a
that
podcast yesterday. I was so tired that I was like, I just laid down. I was like, I don't even want to get up.
no, I agree because I slept all day,
Well,
like
I got
for
a fever now,
five
I
days.
think, from it. And now I went to bed early last night and then took a nap
Yeah,
today. And yeah.
Yeah,
sleepy
it's just
Joe.
all those days in a row, and you know, I've always been a last minute shopper, so going into not just
There's
the
nothing
grocery
though.
stores, but I went to the mall, dude. It was really bad. So nothing worse than the mall when it's a weekend Christmas. You know what I'm saying? When you have that Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, or
Yeah,
the last 2 days. Like if it's like Wednesday Christmas, the mall's not as bad on Tuesday or Monday. But when it's a Monday Christmas and you got Saturday and Sunday for the last minute shoppers, it's insane.
Did you go to Washington Square?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
nice
yeah.
one though. That's got tons of stores.
Yeah. Well, and then I had to go to Costco, get foods for dinner, then I had to
You
go
had to
to,
cook prime rib all day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
it's
would
it's just
not touch
everything.
Costco that weekend. No way.
Yeah, it was packed. It was packed. So the holiday rush was was fun. So yeah, just little bit of relaxing there, watching some of the games. Not as many as I wanted to watch over the weekend, over the course, but um, so a lot of crazy things happen in the NFL. We can talk about those. But first thing I want to do is get into college a little bit because this is obviously we got to talk our college week now, right? Because all the bowl games will be played by well, it won't get through the championship, of course, right? But all everything coming up, right, up
All
to
right.
who's going to be playing that will get played. So we got to jump into that today and just kind of talk about definitely get our predictions, what's happening. Before we actually talk about that, I mean, you saw it already, obviously, in the USC game, a lot of other games, like guys just aren't playing in these bowl games. Now, obviously, the national championship games, in the playoff games, guys are going to play. But what do you think about that? I mean, have you guys been looking at that? Like Florida State, for example, what they announced, like 13 guys aren't playing.
I think
because
more
they're a
than
bunch
that.
of losers.
Yeah.
They're complete losers. Yeah, go to the NFL. Like, so what? Like, if you would have beaten Georgia, yeah, you would have been legit. Like, you know, but they all sold out. Like, fuck them. Bunch of losers.
It's just kind of
Bo,
crazy to me.
Bo Nix is even playing, so
Right.
Yeah, Bo Nix is playing
And they're
against the
playing
losers.
Liberty.
You guys are losers.
But I mean, it's not. I mean, I think Florida State they got a lot of guys that are a little bit, butt hurt over the not getting
But
picked into
hurt, you
there,
know what? Go,
So
hey, if you think you're the best team in the country, go out and beat Georgia. Because Alabama barely beat Georgia. Like, and that's their only loss in 30 games. Right?
yeah,
So if you think you're such, you know what? That's why there needs to be a couple national championships. It's not fair to these teams. You know, it's just garbage. The
well,
whole system.
it might
I
be a good
understand how
argument for
Florida
the
gets upset, but for
right,
you to
right.
sit there and say, you know what, I'm gonna ditch the whole team, and I'm just gonna no, I'm not gonna play. That's kind of garbage. You know.
It might be a good argument though for the bigger playoff, right? Because
Oh, it's gonna happen in
you're not
next
going to
year.
have people, opting out of the playoff game.
Well, you don't think so, but
well, you had Texas backup quarterback going to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that happened quite a bit, though, right? There's quite a few guys that went in the transfer portal that aren't going to
Yeah.
play.
Right. But I mean, what happens if Ewers gets hurt? He would have had to play, you know.
Right.
Yeah, Arch Manning.
Now it's Arch.
Arch. That's
Yeah.
what everybody wants anyways.
I mean, it's kind of crazy when they were comparing Arch Manning's NIL earnings to Brock Purdy's salary.
What is it? I didn't hear it.
Arch Manning made like 3.5 million, give or take. And Brock
Brock
Purdy
under
made
a mil.
870,000.
Arch.
Well, the way he played against the Ravens, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
That's,
He earned it. He earned it on Monday, didn't he?
That was Arch.
So yeah, so that's disappointing, right? But we still got playoff games to play, which is exciting, right? So there's, even though some of these teams, guys are opting out, they may, might not make for the most exciting bowl games for the day, but it's still, we got a playoff, we got 4 teams in it playing for the national championship, and that's what we got, right?
Already predicting the games tonight.
We got to pick them, otherwise we won't have a podcast for their play. So we got to get our picks in now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's start. Let's see if there's any other games we even want to talk about here before we get into the playoff games. Let's see. Oklahoma State, Texas are playing right now. Louisville, USC.
What's the score on that?
31-20 Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, I think they're kind of expected to win that game. How about this Arizona at Oklahoma? That should be an interesting game.
When's that?
Tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow?
That is tomorrow. Yeah, it's ESPN 6:15. That should be fun, right? But
Yeah.
is
that
Oklahoma's
tomorrow?
quarterback
At 6,
playing?
yeah.
No. Gabriel's
The
gone.
Duck.
He went. No.
Yeah, he's
So they're
gone,
gonna play
right?
as they're
The
gonna play
Ducks
back.
got Gabriel and Dante Moore.
Yeah, that's stupid. I'd rather have Dante Moore because Gabriel is really not that good. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah, that's
I'll take
interesting.
Dante Moore. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Gabriel either.
No, he's a nice quarterback, but he doesn't fit Oregon's system. No.
So regardless of Gabriel not playing here, let's say Arizona goes and beats Oklahoma here in this game.
They should.
Like, that puts Arizona kind of on a good track for next year.
No.
Or coming up, because they played a real good season.
Good chance of winning the Big 12. Big 12's not. Kansas looks. Did you watch Kansas last night?
No, I didn't see the Kansas game.
Kansas got some good pieces too, but it's not the same of having Oklahoma and Texas in your conference. You know, it's up for grab. Utah, Arizona, any of those teams can win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really says. I mean, it says a lot for Arizona's season they had. They're ranked 14th right now. Outside the 2 close games, they were right there.
Yeah.
So that should be fun to watch. Oregon State at Notre Dame. Or not at Notre Dame, but I guess against Notre Dame.
Yeah, but that's going to be, both teams are in shambles, right? I mean,
right.
They
Not a lot of
lost
people playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Oregon State's without their head coach.
Right.
A bunch of the coordinators
2
left with
quarterbacks.
the quarterback left.
Yeah, it's harsh.
Probably some of the offensive linemen aren't going to play.
Should be a good a running matchup against the defense, right? You to see how good Oregon State's run game is against Notre Dame's defense. About all the excitement you'll get, right?
Yeah.
Missouri, Ohio State. And again,
That
you come to all these games, you keep talking about, well, who's not playing, right? But still, number 9, number 7, Missouri, holding that higher ranking into number 9, and Ohio State, one loss all year, right? And they lost to potentially the best team.
Missouri's got a lot to prove. That could be an interesting game. Be a fun game to watch. Oh.
Well, I think Missouri has more. You're right. They have more at stake, right? Missouri
yeah.
wants to win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been sneaky good all year. Fun.
And then Saturday, Penn State, Ole Miss. I could do without. Not excited to watch that game.
I don't want to see Penn State anymore, but I think Ole Miss is going to win that game because they have more offense.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's not going to lay down. He should beat Penn State. Yeah.
And then, of course, Florida State, Georgia on Saturday.
Boo. Did you see the point spread?
Georgia's favored by 18.5.
19.
Wow.
19 points.
Oh, okay.
How are you favored by 19 points? Because everybody's not playing.
Right. So do they cover that? Like if you're a betting guy, you betting on Georgia?
Georgia's gonna smoke them.
Yeah.
They're gonna smoke them.
Obviously, they're already without their quarterback, and then now the rest of their team's not playing.
Yeah. It's just dumb.
Probably be tough for Florida State. Because even Georgia's backups were playing, they're still good.
Yeah.
Oregon at Liberty.
Boo.
Liberty have a chance?
No.
Nix
is starting. They should smoke him.
So you think he goes out, plays the first half, they get up by 3-4 touchdowns, and then he sits?
Well, Liberty's quarterback is good too. He's gonna be he'll probably be a 3rd round pick, 4th round, but overall.
Did you see what the over-under was?
What is it?
66.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they might score that in the first half.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems to me like a game that's going to have a lot of points in it. So I'd probably go over on that. But I don't think Liberty has much of a chance in that game. So I don't know how much fun it's going to be to watch, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the thing. We don't really know. It's like, how can you predict what Oregon does on a weekly basis? Maybe they don't take them seriously.
I don't know why Bo Nix would play and not take the game.
Well, the reason why, did you watch the Heisman ceremony? He cares about Lanning. And I think that's part of the thing. He wants to finish it out for Lanning. Even though he shouldn't do it, but he's trying to be a nice guy.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even play if I was him.
No, I wouldn't either.
If you were playing a better team and it meant more, but you're playing Liberty.
You're playing Liberty. You know how many people I talked to? They don't even know where Liberty comes
right. From. Who's Liberty? So, all right. So, those are some of the games coming up, and honestly, not a lot of excitement for me around those games. But obviously, Monday, we've got the first round of the playoff. So let's start here with Washington and Texas. How's this game going to go? What's this going to look like throughout the game? Who's going to win? Let's talk about this game for a second. Are they going to score a lot of points? I mean, I could see this be a high scoring game. What do you guys think?
Over under a 63.5 on this one. Texas favored by 4. But I mean, if you look at it, Washington's skill players are probably not the best, but really close to the best in the nation. If you look at running back, wide receivers, quarterback, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, I mean, they got 2 really good wide receivers, and arguably, one of the top 5 quarterbacks, maybe top 3 quarterbacks.
Rome's gonna be a top 10 guy.
Oh, I think so. I think he
I think
might.
he's a top guy.
But Dylan Johnson's been great at running back.
It's solid. Washington got ranked best offensive line in the country yesterday.
Best offensive line as well, huh?
Yep. They did.
Huh.
wow.
So,
I mean, you look at their number 1 in passing yards, they're number 10 in points scored.
and
So
they got a big chip. I think everybody thinks that Texas is gonna roll them. I think Texas is gonna get a lead, and I think Washington's gonna come back and beat them. Even though all week I'm like Texas should beat them, but you know what? Washington's got weapons, and they got to utilize them. They went through the gauntlet of the Pac-12 and they went undefeated. That should say something to a certain extent.
right.
I'm not I've never been a big fan of Washington the whole year, but the way they played against Oregon, I have to hand it to them. Maybe they'll play the same way against Texas. I'm not a big Ewers. I think he's overrated.
Yeah,
He's not that good. Do you think the same way? I don't think he's that good.
I don't think he's horrible, but I don't know if he's as good as what people are saying.
He's not great. Washington should win that game.
My question is Washington. What's weird for me is watching Washington play in other games besides the Oregon's games, their defense never looked really good to me, right? And then in the Oregon games, their defense shows up. So was that say that their defense will show up here against Texas?
That's
because I think that's the question mark for Washington, right? They're obviously talented on offense, but can they stop Texas?
Yeah. Well, they beat them last. Did you see it's funny. In the Alamo last year, Washington beats them 27-20. And how much of a difference it is a year later?
Probably quite a bit.
I feel like Washington's a much better team this year.
I think Washington's better, yeah. I think Washington is better this year. I don't know that Texas is much better this year.
No.
But I think because they lost Bijan, and they
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Washington should win that game. But what Washington's problem is, they didn't want to travel down south. That's why they're pitching for the Rose Bowl. We want to go in the Rose Bowl. And it's like, go down to New Orleans. I know you're going to be outnumbered by Texas fans in the Superdome. I mean, they're going to be loud, obnoxious, idiot Texas fans. Just go in there and take care of business. They should. They should win that game.
Are you taking Washington then?
Of course I am.
Okay.
You're Washington. They should win that game. Because I'm not a big Ewers fan. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
I think he's a nice quarterback. He's a nice 4th, 5th round quarterback in the NFL. But everyone thinks he's so good. I don't think he's that good.
I think this is going to tell you a lot about the Pac-12, Washington, how Washington plays here. Because, were there a lot of highly ranked Pac-12 teams? Sure. I mean, but we don't know how that correlates to playing a team like Texas or an SEC team.
Well, I feel like everyone is talking about Texas because they beat Alabama, right?
Right.
What was that, week 2?
Right.
Well,
And
that
Jalen Moreau is a lot better than he was in week 2.
he wasn't. He was confused. He didn't know. They weren't ready.
And so that was like a
that was
big
an
thing.
asterisk. What
Yeah.
happened there?
But I mean, Texas still only had one loss all year, and that was a close game against Oklahoma. They, what Oklahoma was playing well at that time. I think they're ranked 6 or something like that.
Yeah, but Washington is undefeated and beat Oregon twice. So you could say,
But not only that, that's why it's just an interesting matchup because Texas, Texas is deep.
Right.
They're deeper than Washington. It's just the fact is Washington, if they have to, if they're gonna win the game, they're gonna have to outgun Texas. They're gonna have to throw the football to beat Texas.
Right.
And they can't.
and it's in a dome.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that's good for Washington. Because they do have really talented, like, Derek, you're saying, probably a more talented skill positions than Texas does.
They do. I'll take Penix over yours any day of the week.
Where do you go? What are you taking, Derek?
Yeah, I'm taking Washington too. Like we already said, if we went like advantage, Washington has the advantage in every position on offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can we trust? I mean, we just talked about make the Pac-12 big, but is the Big 12 even any good?
Yeah,
we're talking like losing Texas and Oklahoma, and we're already talking about Arizona and Utah winning that conference just like that.
Right.
So obviously, there's nothing below Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're not much to speak of currently. Yeah, I mean it's tough. Oh man, I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a shootout. I'm going to go with Washington as well. But I'll tell you, Washington's defense scares me because I've seen them in games this year just completely not show up.
Yeah. But again, that comes down to let's say yours is going out. Is yours a first round pick? I don't think he's that good.
Right.
All this noise about you. I'm like, we'll see. Maybe I'm
That's
wrong.
why he's staying.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come down to, though, I don't know that it even comes down to the quarterbacks per se, right? I think, again, it comes down to more whose defense plays better, whose line blocks better.
I think
right?
I think Texas has been building that program like Alabama has. They have deeper pockets than Washington, but I think Washington can overcome that in the end. Maybe Washington has to come back and win that game.
Right.
But I'm gonna believe in Washington coming, of course, Texas is deeper than Washington. It's freaking Texas. But I still think offensively, Washington should overcome that. And if they can't, they should have beat Oregon.
Yeah. I think it could go either way.
Then we're forgetting about DeBoer's Coach of the Year, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know what the offensive line of the year they voted? AP? Washington.
Washington.
They have
right.
the offensive line of the year. So that should say something too.
Okay, well, I guess we're all in agreement here. We're going to go Washington, huh?
We'll go Washington.
All right, let's do it.
Now we got to talk about Michigan, Alabama.
Yes, now we talk
That's
about
a tough one.
Michigan, Alabama.
That's a brutal one.
Well, I don't know. I think Michigan on paper should win this game
I agree.
because I honestly believe Alabama overachieved this year. And by getting to the playoff, by beating Georgia, like it just kind of solidified that for me. I've never been a big fan of Milroe. Like I just don't think he's that great. Yes, he can run the ball. I mean, you look at the Auburn game is for me when you're have to throw a 4th and 30 against Auburn, to keep your season alive.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But wasn't that
So
pass one of the best passes you ever seen, though?
that was crazy.
That was
Well, it's
insane.
like
They catch
it,
in the back. Dude, that was insane.
it's one of those like
That was
everything
like the
came
best play of the
together.
year.
Yeah. It's one of those like everything had to work out just like that for it to work.
Yeah.
It's not even like the play you wanted to call. Like it's not like that was the play, right? It was like everything that happened during that play to come up to that
Yeah.
throw had to do it like that for that to work. Because otherwise, how you completing like a regular route on 4th and 30?
It was insane.
Right.
You're not just like, okay, here's what we're going to run on 4th and 30 into the end zone.
Look, let's get into our 4th and 30 play calls.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you guys remember that 4th and 30 touchdown
We
pass
practice
that
every
we
week.
practiced? Let's call that play. So, but still, that one worried me. Just how they played all year has worried me. I get it; they're playing better than they have, especially at the beginning of the year. They
Yeah.
beat Georgia. There's something to say for that. I also don't believe Georgia had a very good game plan. I think he got out coached in that game.
Well, it's Nick Saban. I mean,
So that being said, like I want to be like, well, Michigan looks like the clear favorite, but then you're like, well, it's Alabama, right?
it's Alabama.
Alabama is going to have more athletes than anybody in the country. They're going to be deeper than any team. They have more pro-ready players every year.
It actually should
So,
be an epic
and,
game.
and Michigan likes to choke in the
They
playoffs.
do
Like we
like
know
to
that.
choke. That's why you think they're not going to choke because they choked the
Yeah,
last 2
you're
years.
like, it can't happen every year.
Yeah. But if they choke against TCU, then how are they going to fare against a team like Alabama, who's loaded?
Right.
Like, yeah, that's a tough one.
They're a much better team this year than last year, for sure.
Who is?
Michigan. They had a lot of holes last year. A lot of holes.
Yeah, but they're not playing TCU.
No,
Fucking
like this is
Alabama.
the test, dude.
You know,
This is the test.
you know what people said about Alabama is they're gonna lock. They have Alabama's corners. They're gonna go in the first round, both of them.
Right.
They're gonna lock down Michigan's receivers.
But I mean, Michigan's gonna run the ball anyway.
So McCarthy's gonna have no. That's what I heard.
Right, but Corum is gonna be the guy.
Yeah, but when you have corners like that, they could just man on, and they could go in the box.
Right in the box.
Because that's the thing is, I agree. I don't think Michigan's gonna choke 3 years in a row. I think Michigan's gonna find a way to win that game. Even you know why? Because I think Milrose is gonna throw picks.
What's the line on this game?
I don't know. It's gonna be Alabama.
It is Michigan 1.5.
Michigan 1.5, huh?
That's crazy.
So it's a pick 'em.
Right. Oh man. Okay.
Tough one. I think
They're playing in the Rose Bowl.
I think the only thing Alabama should win that game. But I think Milrose might turn the ball over a little bit. I think that will be their undoing. Trust me, I want to pick Alabama very badly. But look at Michigan. They got a lot to prove. And McCarthy, I think everyone's throwing shade on McCarthy. McCarthy is a good quarterback. Is he a pro quarterback? No. Is he a college winner and a college quarterback? Maybe. I think he could pull that game out. That's the only reason I'm going to give Michigan the edge.
I don't think Michigan's offense wins this game. I think Michigan has to play really good defense
Well, they're going to. Well, they
because
got to score points.
you're gonna be facing this run versus the short pass that they've developed over the last few weeks. Like Alabama's gotten really good at this to where it's like if you're gonna stop Milroe from running, he's gonna dink it off to the running backs.
Yeah.
And now you've got what are you gonna do? Like Georgia tried to spy him all game and it killed him because they had nobody to cover the running backs. The running backs were just catching it out in the flat, catching them 5 yards and taking off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Michigan has to figure out a way to stop that game plan because if you don't, it's either Milroe runs for 5 to 10 yards or he throws a short pass to the running back who goes for 5 to 10 yards. And you got to figure out a way to stop that.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to Michigan's defense. Like, can they come up with a good game plan to shut that down, get Alabama out of that game plan, and force them to, play a pro style offense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Michigan has the defense to do it. But it's tough. It's still, you're coming against a really good team that's just beat Georgia, and how do you argue that?
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm going Michigan. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Michigan. I feel like it's definitely a pick 'em game, and I don't know. Michigan's been through a lot this year. They had a lot of controversy. They came together a lot as a team. They have a lot of team pride. And I think that shows out this game, and I think Michigan wins. What do you got? What are you picking, Derek?
Taking Alabama.
Alabama. All right.
Because everything you talked about what Michigan can do to win the game. Alabama could do the same exact thing to win the game. Their defense can stifle Michigan. And then they could just, ball control.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I could see what the over-under on this game was like 30 something. It's going to be totally different games, I think.
Right. Yeah. Opposite. Yeah.
Yeah,
A ball
over-under is
control,
44.5. So we got
ball
like a
control
24-20
defensive
game.
Right.
I just think Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, they've got those guys that are
Yeah, they can lock
they,
those guys down.
they got like 5 first-round picks on that team. So
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean,
We're split.
that's the safer pick. And I'm gonna go Michigan too, for the only reason is because everyone expects Alabama. And I mean, it's Michigan's reputation on the line, honestly, for the next 20 years. It's their reputation. When it comes down to recruiting, everything else, Jim Harbaugh knows it too. Like, if Michigan and Alabama played 10 times, Alabama should win 7 times. But it's one football game. It's Michigan's reputation on the line versus Alabama. Alabama loses the game. Nobody cares. Alabama has won multiple national championships. No one's going to question Alabama's reputation, even if they lose the game. Michigan,
Right.
yes, they will.
No, it's a big game for Michigan for that reason. Yeah.
They have a lot more on the line than Alabama.
And I think kind of a big game.
And I think it's not Alabama's defense is going to be stout. I think it comes down to Milrose. I think he likes to take chances. I think he's going to eat it at some point in the game. And I think Michigan wins in a close game.
See, I'll go with everything you just argued about for Michigan. I'll go with Alabama. They have lots to lose. How many of these players have won a national championship for Alabama? None of them, right?
Right.
What happens when Josh Jacobs, Tua, or someone comes back, an alumni comes back and they're like, oh yeah, we've got 3 championships. You guys haven't done anything.
True. That's a
There's
very
lots to write on because it is
that's
Alabama. You
that's
only
a
are supposed to win national championships. There's nothing else.
that's a
There's no good
legit.
tribes.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's a legit argument. But all this noise about Michigan the last 3 years, you know what? They fell on their face. We're gonna see what they're made of. And honestly, McCarthy, it's all gonna come down to McCarthy. It's not gonna come down to Corum. They're gonna key on McCorum. It's gonna come down to McCarthy. Are we gonna see? Everyone thinks, oh, what round is McCarthy gonna be in? Well, you know what? You ball out in the playoff. You might go from a 5th round pick to a 2nd round pick.
Well, he's projected to be a 1st round pick, so that goes
I
that.
don't know why. But
Well, you won't know
ball,
until he gets into the combine.
yeah. I mean,
We'll see what happens.
yeah.
He's projected to go to the Raiders, Wes. So
Oh
he
my
better
gosh.
play on.
Oh boy, that would be a good pick for the Raiders. All right, so we got 2 Michigans and an Alabama. This should be a really good game. I can't wait to see this one. So that's our college predictions there. I was a lot more excited for these games before like all the transfers hit and all the people stopped playing and things like that. But at least the bowl games, the playoff games should be good. Give us something to look forward to there. Let's jump into NFL. So the first topic we've got is the Hall of Fame, right? So we talked about you've got the finalists for this year's Hall of Fame, and we're gonna pick our 5. Kind of comparatively, like it's interesting because when I've looked at this in the past, I feel like my top 5 is never the same as their top 5. So I think there's always some kind of disconnect that I have with what these whoever's making these decisions. Um, but let's talk about we'll just go 5 down. Just give one. You don't have to give your top 5. Just give one. Say why do you think that guys should be in? Let's see, Derek, why don't you go first?
Well, when I looked through it, and this is why maybe you were when I was doing my criteria, I didn't double. So you say there's 3 receivers.
Right. You're just
I picked
taking one receiver, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I took Andre Johnson. He
Wow.
had because he was more dominant. Because Torrey Holt had less yardage, and Reggie Wayne had just a little bit more yards, but more seasons.
Right.
And they were both second fiddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Marvin Harrison and Isaac Bruce were the number 1s.
Right.
Andre Johnson was a 7-time Pro Bowler and 4-time All-Pro. Yeah, and he played less years and had 200 less yards than Reggie Wayne. So that's why he was more dominating. Like if you looked at him, he was dominating force.
Sure.
I feel like at some point Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt will both get in, but they were also their systems they were in gave them a lot more yardage.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's why I'm taking Andre Johnson.
What about the argument that Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne have both won Super Bowls?
I mean, can you name Andre Johnson's best quarterback he played with? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely look at quarterbacks and say, his quarterback wasn't good at all. But and you say,
if you're looking at
thing,
the Colts had Edgerrin James, Peyton Manning. right? Marvin Harrison. The Rams had Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner. All those guys are already in the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a real good argument for Andre Johnson. I just don't think they'll. This is why I think there's a disconnect that I don't think they'll choose him. Should he be there out of those three? I think the arguments you made are definitely solid.
I mean, they're all going to get in at some point.
Right, right.
Wide
Eventually.
receiver is such a logjam. It just
They're gonna get in due time. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The
I
question
feel like
is,
it's a thing where one gets in every year now.
Right.
yeah.
There's just too many of them. Wide receivers,
mean-
just they're everywhere.
I mean,
If I'm going off this list of wide receivers, I got to take Reggie Wayne. Yeah, he played a little bit more, but he did have the yardage to back it up. He played with Peyton, so that helps. He played with Marvin Harrison, that helps. He gets a Super Bowl.
yeah.
So yeah, I think they pick, and I would probably at this point, I think Andre Johnson. I mean, it's really tough.
Well, it also matters what you do in your career. I mean, Torrey Holt actually won a Super Bowl. Reggie Wayne actually won a Super Bowl. Dwight Freeney actually won a Super Bowl. Sterling Sharp actually won a Super Bowl. I mean, of course you have stats.
Okay, but then you go, give me anybody on Andre Johnson's team that's any good.
It doesn't matter. It's not what they look at. Look at the way the NFL is now. Everybody freaking jerked off to fucking Brock Purdy for 5 weeks, right? And then he plays like crap in a game. Everyone dropped off him like in a second. It's all about winning
Andre Johnson
football
played
games.
3 less years than Reggie Wayne and has
Yeah.
300 less yards.
It doesn't
300
matter.
less yards for 3 years.
I know.
I wonder if
course he
they'll
should
look
be in the Hall of
at
Fame.
how much they're looking at maybe times.
They don't, but these people don't have a
finalist.
brain. They only look at results.
Tony
They only
Vaselli
look
made
at
it last year.
championships. Yeah. It's not like it was 20, 30 years ago. They looked at stats because they're smart. Nowadays, look at this. I mean, when's the last time a wide receiver won MVP? And it's stupid.
I think
When's the
Holt
last time a running back? Christian
You-
McCaffrey should
take a
win
look
the
at this.
MVP. It's gonna be a quarterback.
Okay, Wes, last year, Joe Klecko got in. How many Super Bowls did he win? Darrelle Revis got in. How many Super Bowls did he win?
Because
Joe Thomas got in. How many Super Bowls did he win? Zach Thomas got in. How many Super Bowls did he win?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if Super Bowl's the same. Like, doesn't mean that's a key indicator. I think when you're talking about him, that's when you start comparing the three. But also, Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne have both been 5-time finalists.
Yeah, that's true. Andre Johnson's new,
He's
so I
only
could
been
see
a
them going with one of the
Yeah,
others.
that's what I mean. Is like they could say, "Hey, these guys have been on the ballot 5 times. Like we got to put one of them in at this
Right.
point."
I feel like, yes, with receiver, it just everyone pays their dues and goes in. So I could see Andre Johnson having to wait. I am just saying, dominance-wise, he was better than the other two.
Right. Well, and when you go make the argument though of Torrey Holt played with Isaac Bruce and Reggie Wayne played with Marvin Harrison, you also got to take the side of that take stats away from them.
Right.
So how good could Torrey Holt be and how good could Reggie Wayne be if they're the Andre Johnson of their team getting 90% of the balls or whatever, right? Or
and then what's his name? Matt Schaub was his quarterback. Come on.
Right, but I'm just saying you can make the same argument for them losing stats to the guys that you say,
Well, they had Arian Foster
team.
too.
Right. Well, now you're competing with Edgerrin James,
Mhm.
Marshall Falk.
Right.
Right, that's a lot of balls to their way. So, yeah, there's a lot there. So
There.
it's a good argument. It's a good, and I would say, who would I rather have on my team? I think I would take Andre Johnson. We just lose Wes.
I
Well, let's see if
guess
he joins
we
me.
lost Wes.
Yeah, I would probably take Andre Johnson though if I'm picking one of the three.
Right.
You know, so I think that's a good way to look at it though. Like when you're picking, when you're looking like take one from each position because you can't see more than one and get it in. So this was the other one. So one of the ones I was looking at is this Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Jared Allen. That one for me was really tough
Yeah.
because Dwight Freeney's like sneaky with how many sacks this guy's had in his career that most people don't know about. I mean, over that one period of time, he was getting more sacks than anybody in the league, or at least him and Mathis were.
Well, I gotta see. So what is
Julius Peppers, I think, has the most sacks of the three.
that's what I was saying. I was gonna pick Peppers
Right,
because he was the most dominant.
right.
Yeah, he had 30 almost yeah, almost 45 more sacks.
Yeah, he had over 100, right? He's well over 100,
Yeah, he's at 159.5.
150.
Freeney's at 125.5. So
That's not too bad. What about Jared Allen? Like I just never been a Jared Allen fan, so that probably like weighs in on my voting for him.
he has more sacks than Freeney.
Right. He's definitely solid, for
Yeah.
Kansas City and for Minnesota for years.
I feel like this one comes down to it's just the same argument as Andre Johnson or Julius Peppers played on teams that never won anything compared to Dwight Freeney.
But yeah, Dwight Freeney definitely played for a team that won a little bit more. But this, I think, yeah, this stands out a little bit more statistically to me and dominance wise than the previous would be. That I think Julius Peppers was way more dominant
Right.
than the other two.
That's how
And
I mean, eye
yeah,
test wise,
right. And he's first ballot guy though.
I mean, he's a 7-time All Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, almost 160 sacks. You kind of have to.
Right.
Actually, if you're looking through this list this year, I don't want to say it's underwhelming, but it's lots of guys that are okay,
It
that
is
are
a little
really, really
underwhelming.
good, but weren't like,
I mean, it is a little underwhelming. Because like, let's see, we got Eric Allen, right, quarterback. Jared Allen, defensive end. Willie Anderson, really good tackle. Jahari Evans, good guard, but really Hall of Famer. Um, Dwight Freeney, Antonio Gates. Uh, he definitely should be on the list. Rodney Harrison, Devin Hester. He's been on there a couple times now. Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, then Julius Peppers, Fred Taylor, and then Reggie Wayne, Patrick Willis, Darren Woodson.
right. I think Patrick Wilson didn't play enough.
No, I think that's a hard one, but he was so good when he did
Yeah.
play.
But it was more like he just retired, you know what I mean?
Right.
The one I like to talk about is Fred Taylor
Right.
because he played in Jacksonville, he didn't have the All Pros or the Pro Bowls. But he has over 11,000 yards rushing, and he has a 4.6 yards per attempt. The only two higher than him in the top 15 rushing, because that's where he's about, is Jim Brown and Barry Sanders.
Right.
I mean, and
So
John Riggins is in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, no doubt. Statistically, he was really good. And as you look at this list, man, you might be able to sneak him on this list. He's a first timer though.
Is he?
Fred Taylor, first year, 2024.
Oh, because a lot of people have been saying,
Yeah, times the finalist, 2024.
oh, times a finalist.
Right. I mean, maybe this is this for in the top 15.
Yeah, he was a semifinalist 4 times.
Right. So his eligibility's way down now.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's lost a lot of years of eligibility for that. So yeah, I mean, since he's been lost so many years of eligibility, that could definitely move him up, I think. And then when
plus,
you look
they
at
put
this list,
Baselli in last year, and now they got
right?
another Jaguar.
Yeah, I could do it. So I think for me anyway, I think Antonio Gates gets in.
Yeah,
If I'm going to say who's the only one I think is for sure getting in, it's got to be Antonio Gates for me.
right.
Because statistically, yeah, I mean, has there been Tony Gonzalez? Of course, but I mean, Antonio Gates' statistics are just crazy good when you look at all of his touchdowns and his statistics at San Diego. So I could see Gates getting in, and I think you're right. One of the receivers goes. So for me, there's two. And then I also think one of the defensive linemen goes. Since there's three of them, you got to choose one.
Yeah,
So I got Julius Peppers, I got Antonio Gates, I got Reggie Wayne, and that's where it gets hard.
right. Yeah, so I'm
Uh,
almost like you, except I got Andre Johnson, and then I'm putting Fred Taylor in, and then it's one of the DBs, right?
yeah,
Or Devin Hester. The problem with Hester is,
it's going to be hard for him to get in, but
well, he's so great at returner, but Dion was a great returner too, but also a Hall of Fame corner. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Rod Woodson, all these guys did something else also really great.
Well, and Hester has a lot of eligibility left, so I think he's going to continue to be in kind of a hold.
Yeah. Because it's hard when you just, any special teams that's just a specialist. It's
Right.
hard to get in.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously he was the best, you know. I guess
Right.
it's hard to argue his talent too. So,
Yeah.
but I think he's got time. So I don't think it's this year. I definitely don't. I do think they're taking one of the DBs as well. But also then you look at so now if you're taking a DB, I mean, let's talk about just the offensive lineman for a second. I mean, I think Willie Anderson is a really good argument to get in.
Right. Willie Anderson, yes, not Evans. I don't even
No,
know why
no.
he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why he's on the list either, but I think Willie Anderson has a really good shot to get in.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so hard because I was also so you got Darren Woodson, Rodney Harrison, and Eric Allen.
Right.
Woodson and Harrison are pretty much the same player, right?
Hmm.
And Allen was a shutdown corner on that vaunted Eagles defense. So it's a tough one there because they all are about, and then comparable with all pros and Pro Bowls, they're all about the same.
Yeah, and they all played about the same amount of years.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of a man, almost feels like a namesake thing there, where like Rodney Harrison to me has the bigger name
Yeah, I was gonna go with Wes's argument though, and I was gonna go Darren Woodson.
because of how successful the Cowboys were.
Yeah. And he
Right.
was the captain of that defense.
Right, right. But I just feel like Rodney Harrison's in around the game much more, you know? He does a lot of commentating. He's on the sidelines for all these games. He's like he's like in the group.
Well, isn't Woodson?
I don't see him much, so maybe he is, but I just don't see him as often as I see Rodney Harrison.
I thought he was doing something.
Because Rodney Harrison's part of the ESPN crew, right?
I thought he was the NBC.
Is he for Sunday night games?
Thought so. Let me check.
Well, Eric Allen, let's see.
Yeah, he's part of the NBC Football Night in America.
I said Sunday night games. That's why I see him all the time.
Yeah.
And Eric Allen had pretty good stats.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he never. Yeah, that's pretty tough. I think this is just as hard as receiver as
yeah.
between these three. So you're saying Fred Taylor, Andre Johnson,
Peppers, Antonio
Peppers,
Gates,
Antonio Gates,
and then
Darren
Woodson.
Woodson. Oh, so I don't think I think I don't think they're leaving Willie Anderson out. I think they're taking Willie Anderson this year. I think they're taking Gates. I think they're taking Peppers. I think they're taking Harrison, and I think they're taking Wayne.
All right.
That's my five. So that'll be an interesting one. It's always fun for that time of year to talk about Hall of Famers because that's one of the. I guess you feel like when you hear these guys talk about it, and they're really excited about it. It's something big in their careers when they get to inducted or even finalists, things like that. That I think this is important for a lot of the NFL guys.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk last week's NFL. Let's see, records 11-5, 11-5, 10-6. So not a lot of difference in our records, even though we picked a lot of different games.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one is obviously we talked about earlier. We went with the Raiders, and the Raiders come out and they beat Kansas City at home. And it's not like that was an important game for Kansas City.
No.
I mean, because now they dropped to 9-6. And are they still winning the division? Of course, it's going to be hard for them not to win the division playing the Chargers and the Bengals the next two games. But that's a
Crazier
big
things have
loss for them.
happened.
Yeah, right. I just think that's a big loss for them
Well, they
at
don't
this
get home.
point.
They were knocked out of home field. So this is going to be the first time, if they make it past the first round, that Mahomes would have to play on the road.
Right. So putting Kansas City to the test a little bit. And I think that said a lot for the Raiders, the way they played. It seems like, Davis is pretty happy with the coach, with Pierce. You think he's sticking around?
I hope so. I mean, they've got the number 3 defense and scoring defense in the NFL since he took over.
Right.
I mean, and Patrick Graham, the D coordinator, he gets lots of credit. And of course, news is coming out. So because McDaniels put restrictive stuff on him and he couldn't fully do, the dude was putting some restrictive stuff on the defense.
Yeah, right. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to say, what the season would look like, right, without him. You would think that they would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
But you could still be running with Jimmy G if that was the case. You never know. Just it could have been a whole different. It could have
Right.
played out differently.
Well, my scenario is, Steve, you're going to love this one.
Oh yeah,
The Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. They're going to trade Justin Fields to the Raiders, and it's going to be for like a 3rd-round pick
right. Jesus.
because Champ Kelly is probably going to be the GM who was the assistant GM in Chicago.
Mhm. Well, I mean, even I've I've heard the argument both ways, obviously, but typically from the analysis and the talking heads that I do trust a little bit, or think like they have a little validity when they speak, almost everybody says on that side it's not time yet to get rid of Justin Fields. Now, doesn't mean it's not being said everywhere. Like you're hearing it a lot of places, but like they said, from a lot of the people that I actually listen to and trust, I don't think so. Um, I just don't. I don't think at this point. I think who was it? It's either Wanstead or Cower, one of the two. He's like, do you really know that somebody you're going to take in the draft is better than what you have? I mean, you don't. You can't. I don't think you can come out for sure and say I got to take Caleb because I know 100% he's better than Justin Fields.
I mean, I know Justin Fields is better, but the Cardinals, Kyler Murray was 100% better than Josh Rosen.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean it's not going to work out,
And
or
the
it doesn't.
problem is how hurt. I mean, Fields can't even stay healthy.
You will. I mean, he definitely had that was a kind of a big injury for him this year, so that's something to consider.
And he was hurt most of last year, played through it.
Yeah, I mean that's a line problem. So get Caleb Williams, come in, get him killed too.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
they have another 1st-round pick too. They could get another lineman.
yeah, that scenario, we'll see how that one plays out. I mean, I'd be happy if I were you to get Fields for a 3rd rounder.
Yeah, I would be.
But I think Las Vegas, good things happening. I think you got a good coach in there. Their team looks totally different. So much different there. And then to come out and win that game against Kansas City, that's to me really shows them turning a corner. That was a big one. And a surprise around the league, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of people didn't see that playing out that way.
All right, they were 10-point favorites.
Yeah. Let's see. The Baltimore San Francisco, even though it's not a huge shocker, I still thought San Francisco would win the game at home. But Baltimore showed, a little bit of both sides, of offense and defense, where that they are capable of doing both. So that was a nice, I think it was a good thing for Baltimore going into the postseason here. Now looking like probably the power top team in the league after that win. Uh, is there anybody you could put ahead of Baltimore right now?
I guess we'll find out this week, right? But I don't think so. It's hard because that's what Baltimore does is they do stuff like this and then they will lay an egg. But right
Right.
now, no, I think they're the best.
Yeah. I mean, after that game, you gotta think that, I think. So that was a big game too. Philadelphia, obviously they won their game, but still not looking that great.
And rip to Tommy Cutlets. His career is pretty much
Yeah,
his fame is over already.
right. It was good while it lasted. Good
Yeah.
while it lasted, Mr. DeVito. Miami, Dallas, that was a big game. It wasn't a high scoring game as I thought it would be. Both those teams score a lot of points.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then let's see. I think everything else besides, I thought Indianapolis, I think Atlanta dominated Indianapolis, which was a surprise.
Yeah. That was interesting.
And then Pittsburgh against Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati there, and Pittsburgh
Yeah.
just kind of blew them out of the
Mason
water.
Rudolph, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pickens at 200 yards, it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
so there was
Speaking
some
of
big games,
200 yards, Cooper because of Joe Flacco.
right?
Joe Flacco is
Um,
going to lead the Browns to the playoffs.
well, I mean, they're pretty much in, right? They're 10
Yeah.
and 5. And so I can't see them not making the playoffs.
Can you imagine the Browns Ravens as like the conference finals to see who goes to the Super Bowl?
Right. That's that at this point, that looks pretty possible.
Yeah.
Especially if Flacco can stay healthy, because he's got the experience for it. That's the important part.
Right.
You don't, I mean, and they have good skill position players. It's not like Amari Cooper's a slouch. He's always been a good receiver.
Right.
And Njoku's playing a lot better than he's played in the past couple years. Just think if they still had Chubb.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big hit for them. So a couple things to talk about come for this week is one, who we picking, but also, you know, what these playoff scenarios look like, right? So let's take a look at the standings right now. So right now in the AFC, you've got two teams that have clinched. So you
Yeah.
got the Dolphins and the Ravens that have clinched.
Ravens will clinch the 1 seed if they beat the Dolphins.
Right, and that game's coming up, so that's a huge game. But who else? Yeah, so you got Cleveland at 10 and 5. It's hard to see them not going, right? So they're pretty much in because you got a lot of these teams here at 8 and 7.
Right.
The Jets have been eliminated, Patriots been eliminated, Tennessee's been eliminated, Chargers have been eliminated.
Broncos are starting Jarrett Stidham.
So they've given up. So you got one. So you're taking 4 teams, one from each conference has to go, and then Cleveland goes. So that's 5. So there's 2 other spots.
Right. Well, the
So these
Bills
wow,
probably.
yeah, because
Who
the
are the
Bills are
Bills?
9-6. That means they have the next best record.
They got the Patriots this week.
Yeah, so I think the Bills are going. I think the Bills are in. They'll get in.
It's going to come down to the 7th spot
Mm-hmm.
because you got 3 AFC South teams,
They're all
all
tied
at
8
8
and
and
7.
7. Steelers, Bengals at 8 and 7, and then you got the Raiders and Broncos at 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Right.
The Raiders play the Colts and the Broncos the last 2 weeks.
Okay, so that can eliminate. They win both those games. That eliminates the Colts and the Broncos.
Well, the Bengals got the Chiefs, and who are the Bengals? The Bengals got the Chiefs, and why are you making this so hard to figure out?
So I wonder who.
Bengals got the Chiefs and the Browns their last 2 weeks.
Right, right. So that's tough because the Browns really want to win that game.
Yeah.
That's going to make it hard for the Bengals to get in. Steelers. Let's see who the Steelers play here.
Seahawks in Seattle and then Baltimore.
Right. That's really tough too. I don't know, man. The Raiders might have a chance here.
The Texans have the Titans and the Colts.
Oh yeah, Texans. They got, and then while the Jacksonville's got the Titans and the Panthers. So
Right.
Jacksonville probably wins that division.
Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence might not be playing this week.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're playing the Panthers. So it
Right.
could
I know.
come down to the Raiders against the Broncos and the Texans Colts game.
Right. Because I could easily see the Steelers losing both games, the Bengals losing both games. So that's I think it's going to come down to that. Yeah, I think you're looking at the Colts or potentially the Raiders. See what the Broncos got. Well, they got the Raiders. I got Vegas. So, God, it could be the Broncos beating the Raiders.
Yeah.
'Cause then
Yeah, because
they
they
go to
what? They got the Chargers and the Broncos, or the Chargers and
right
the Raiders. Is that right?
Chargers and the Raiders, right? So there's a
With
lot of
Jarrett
scenarios
Stidham.
there. A lot of scenarios there in the AFC for sure. So right now it looks like it's going to be Jacksonville winning their division, Kansas City win their division, Baltimore, Miami,
Cleveland, Buffalo, and then
right, Cleveland, Buffalo, and potentially the Colts, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Texans. I mean, that's all be any of those teams. But good, there's a chance for all of them.
right. And the NFC is a lot easier.
Right, because you already got 1, 2, 3, 4 clinched plus a division winner, right? So there's your 5.
And then you got Vikings, Falcons, Packers, Saints. Bears still have a chance. Rams and
Yeah, it's
Seahawks.
not much in there. I think the Rams are looking like the favorite there for the next position. The Seahawks, it's going to come down to how they play, right? They have a couple tough games.
And they have the
'Cause they
Steelers.
Oh, and the Cardinals, that's not too bad. So they got
No.
Steelers, Cardinals. They could win both those games. So the Seahawks still have a good chance of getting in.
The Rams got the Giants and the 49ers.
Oh boy. So that might not be good for the Rams unless the 49ers are resting people that week.
Right.
So that might come down to like a number one seed thing.
Right. So then you got the Vikings play the Packers, so one eliminates the other, right?
Right. Yeah, so they're eliminating each other, and then the Bears play, well, both of them? No, they play
No,
the
so the
Falcons and the
Vikings got the
Packers.
Packers and the Lions. So that's tough for the Vikings. Um, the Packers play the Bears, and the Bears play the Falcons.
Right. Yeah, there's no way the Bears could get in. That's too many scenarios there for them, but
Yeah.
so I think you're probably looking at, I mean, what about the Saints? The Saints,
Saints got the Bucks and the Falcons back to back.
oh, so they're really in charge there of their own destiny.
Right.
Because you're
Because
basically
if the Bucks beat the Saints this week, then I think it's pretty much foregone conclusion they win that division.
right, because then they got Carolina last game and they're already a game ahead. So
Right.
yeah, so I think the Rams, the Seahawks, I think the Rams actually they might have a tougher road than the Seahawks
Right.
with that 49ers game. And then yeah, I mean the Packers can come out and win both games. They still had a chance. Uh, but man, Minnesota, that's a tough ask for them to beat the Packers and the Lions back to back to finish the season.
So I don't know all the tiebreakers here, but just look here, Steve. Let's think about this. If the Bears win out, okay, they would beat the Falcons, knock them out, right? And the Packers, knock them out. They all would have 9 losses, right?
Right.
If the Packers beat the Vikings, the Vikings have 9 losses. Then it would become, okay, the Rams lose to 49ers, they'd have to win against who they got? The Giants. Okay, so that might be the hard one.
Right.
The Seahawks could lose to the Cardinals and the Steelers.
The Seahawks have to lose both those games for sure.
Yeah,
And then their conference record would be then 6-6, and the Bears would be 7-5. So they would have that tiebreaker. So you could definitely eliminate. The Rams would have the tiebreaker on them no matter what. Though.
well, if the Rams lose to the 49ers, they'll have the
Oh
same
no,
conference
then they'd be
record.
6-6 in their conference, right? So actually they would be, yep. So yeah, I mean basically you're looking at all these teams have to lose both their games,
Yeah,
and some of them even play, but those are the 7 and 8 teams that play. Luckily, the 8 and 7 teams
right.
don't play each other, which is why Chicago is not mathematically eliminated yet
Right. As
because
soon
the two,
as the Rams and the Seahawks win this week.
right, right, yeah, that ends it for that. So, but look at Detroit here. When you're looking at this, Detroit now 11-4, right? Tied with Philly and San Francisco for potentially this home field.
Yeah.
Downfall is though they have to have a better record because San Francisco is going to have a better conference record,
Right. Yeah.
which is crazy. 3 of their 4 losses are from the AFC.
Right. Well, that's because AFC is better.
So that's interesting there. But
Minnesota.
Detroit is right there. So I can't see San Francisco sitting for the last week because they got to win that game.
Right, because the Lions, you got the Lions. Where are the Lions? They have a big game, don't they? Oh yeah, Cowboys.
Yeah, and Philly's got Giants and Cardinals, so they should be on cruise
Yeah,
control to
they've
finish
already
up the
gone through their
season.
hard part.
Right. So
And then the
Philly's
Niners
probably
got
going 12, 13, and 4. Yeah, Philly's won
Niners got
13
the
and 4.
Commanders and the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams not an easy game for them. They should handle the Commanders. Who does Detroit have?
Cowboys and the Vikings.
Oh yeah, so that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not impossible, but both the Bears and the Raiders still have a chance.
Yeah. Anything is possible.
Oh man, that's interesting.
Dude, what's even crazier is the Raiders and the Broncos still have a chance to win the division.
Yeah, no, that's so the division record, yeah, it's just 3-2. So the Broncos are both division games. They
Yeah, they've got
they got to be the
their
Chargers
Chargers and
and the
Raiders.
Raiders, right? So then they go 4-2. Kansas
Right.
City's got one more. So they lose, they go 3-3. So Kansas City loses the Chargers. They go 3-3 in
Losing
the
to the
division,
Bengals.
right? And then they could lose to either of those teams, who would be 4-2 in the division,
Right.
and have the tiebreak on them.
Yep.
Boy, wouldn't that be something?
That would be
And
well, the crazy thing about that is we're in a season where all the quarterbacks are getting hurt, but the Chiefs
right,
have Mahomes the whole year.
yeah.
They're 9-6.
Well, what's crazy about that though, because then if you do lose those two games and somebody beats you out for the division, you may not make the playoffs
Right.
because then you're 9-8, and some of these other teams could finish 10-7. So that's an interesting scenario there.
Although it would be messed up though. Chiefs still make it in as a wild card, and they get to play the AFC South.
Right. So then they get moved through the first round
Well, actually,
because
no, they wouldn't. They would play like Miami because they would be the 7th seed.
oh yeah. If they made the wild card, yeah.
Yeah. If they
Right.
win the division, though, well, they'll probably be the 3 seed, so they would get Buffalo.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That should be an exciting game, huh? All right,
And
well,
then,
let's get in. Oh, go
well,
ahead.
one more scenario: the Bills could still win the AFC East
Right.
because the Dolphins have the Ravens and the Bills.
But Miami's still in regardless,
Right.
but they could lose the division if they lose both games
Right.
because one of them's to the Bills, and then Bills have the head-to-head on them. Yeah, so they've been. I mean, if you're the Bills right now, you're just more worried about winning, making the playoffs, right?
Right. Which they got the Patriots this week, right?
Yeah. So I mean, this is the week that you say, hey, let's focus not on the division, but winning this next game.
Right. Because, I mean, I guess technically they won't clinch, but if they win, they're probably in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even at 10-7, if they lost week 18, it's still hard to not make the playoffs, right?
Right.
So sweet. Let's get into our picks. Let's see, week 17. That was week 17. This is week 17. There we go. So 2 weeks left. All right, well, let's start Thursday night football. Jets at the Browns.
What Trevor Simeon starting for the Jets. You mighty Joe Flacco starting for the Browns. I got the Browns here winning in a
Yeah.
pretty good defensive battle. But yeah, I got the Browns winning by 6.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat there. I think they'll win by a touchdown, at least, maybe more. But the Jets' defense is solid. Cleveland's defense is best in the league. It's at home for Cleveland. It's an important game for them. They just need to continue to win, keep their confidence up, make the playoffs. So, New York Jets, they don't have anything to play for, so it doesn't matter. Game of the week here on Saturday, I think. Well, I think there's 2 really good games this week, so this is one of them. Detroit at Dallas. It's at Dallas, which is really hard for me, but I feel like Detroit has a chance in their minds to still get a number 1 seed. They have a chance to be like, hey, look at us. We're the best team in the NFC. And I think that matters more to them. And I think they want it more right now. And Dallas just doesn't look great right now. So I'm taking Detroit here in a close game, but to pull it out in Dallas.
Dallas is favored by 6 at home. But I agree with you. But I'm saying because what does the Lions do best? They pound the rock, man.
Right.
What did the Cowboys don't do best is defending the run.
Yep.
When Micah Parsons can't just pin his ears back and rush the passer, Cowboys are not one of the better defenses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm taking the
Well,
Lions too.
yeah, when they all can't do it, like that, their whole defensive line is good at rushing the quarterback,
Right.
and not good at stopping the run. So Detroit really has to play smart. They got to keep ball control. They got to not commit turnovers here to win this game, though. Patriots at the Bills. Big game for the Bills. What do you got?
The Bills favored by 13. Yeah, I'm gonna take Bills winning by 14. This is big for the Bills.
Yeah.
And then look
Uh,
here, Josh Allen is leading the league in total touchdowns now.
right. And total turnovers, right?
Probably.
uh, as if you see them, like they've been getting on him about his turnovers, and he's up there. I mean, it's like one of the number, but he runs the ball a lot, and
Right.
he doesn't slide, and so of course he's going to have a lot of fumbles. But either way, like if you're looking for a quarterback, like Josh Allen's kind of the guy you want right now. I mean, he is definitely slinging it, and it's New England, so it's in Buffalo, must win. Got to go with Buffalo here. I don't know if they cover. It's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. I got them by 10. I'm gonna say they don't cover. Atlanta at Chicago. I mean, Chicago's chances are just so minute to make the playoffs. You would expect Atlanta to come out and win this game, but it's in Chicago, and it's in the wintertime, and Atlanta's a dome team, and they're going to struggle. And Chicago's just played good enough to win this game. So I got Chicago here by a touchdown at home.
I agree. I'm taking the Bears on this one. The Falcons played really well last week, but now they're going to be like, oh no, we don't need to use our good guys again. So yeah, I'm taking the Bears. This is where Justin Fields stays a Bear. If he
Yep.
can play well the last 2 games, then they'll be like,
Yeah, I mean, you give them a shot if you're giving your team a shot to win, especially after how poorly they started. And then, and you hate to look back and say the games you should have won, but yeah, you had some games that you absolutely should have won, which would have made your playoff scenario right now a whole lot different, you know? So, like I said, there's a lot of things you can look at there, but yeah, I think Chicago should come to play. No, that usually means they're going to lose, but we'll see. Las Vegas at Indianapolis. Oh, it's a tough one. What are you gonna do? You gonna ride with the Raiders?
Oh yeah. Since Antonio Pierce has taken over, they're only giving up 12.5 points per game. So I'm taking the Raiders. Their defense is looking like the 80s Raiders defense right now. They're running all over, tackling. Malcolm Kuntz has become the person to be next to Crosby. The Since week 8, Kuntz and Crosby have had 74 pressures, 14 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, 32 quarterback hits, and 4 forced fumbles. I mean,
Yeah, I mean defense, they're playing right now.
and it is Gardner Minshew, and I like him, but I feel like sometimes his magic leaves him, and I think this is a game where the magic leaves. Plus, the Raiders, they've got a chip on their shoulder for more than one reason. Remember, Jeff Saturday beat them,
Right.
and Jim Irsay talked so much trash and going, "Just win, baby," and like talking mad trash. So, what better way than the Raiders to go into Indianapolis, knock the Colts out of the playoffs, pretty much?
Right, because this is a big game for the Colts. I mean, obviously big game for the Raiders if they still want to have a chance too,
Right.
But Colts are tied right now. Right. So they're all tied right there. You gotta win this game. It's a real tough one. Oh man, I gotta go with the Colts. I think I'd like to see the Raiders win, keep those playoff chances alive. Oh man, but I gotta pick the Colts on this one. Although the way the Raiders are playing last couple of weeks, it's hard.
Mm.
But I'm gonna stick with my original pick. Stay with the Colts there. Let's see, Rams at the Giants. I think the Rams have to win this game as well. Giants, nothing to play for. I don't think they had much to play for all year. Rams got too much offense. So it's not going to be close. I think the Rams by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much saying it. Tyrod Taylor is now the quarterback, he's decent, but the Rams, they need this game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Giants are any worse off with Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback, to be honest with you. But the Rams really, and they've looked pretty good. I'll give them that. The Rams, their passing game right now is off the charts. With Cooper being back 100%, Nakua's playing great. Arizona at Philly. Philly should and will win this game. It's an important game for them. It's not just like, hey, this game doesn't matter. Like if they want to stay up there in the division and in the conference, they have to win their last 2 games. And so you can't take Arizona lightly. So I don't think Philly blows them out, but I got Philly by 10.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than 10 because you got the Cards head coach is the former defense coordinator of the Eagles. So it's
Right.
going to
Yeah.
be interesting there. I still think the Eagles have enough to pull it out, but it will be dicey. But they'll end up winning. I have them winning
I
by
mean, so, you look at Philly, right? You've lost your defense coordinator.
and offensive coordinator.
right, and you lost 3 of your last 4 games. But you meet the Giants, and you got the Giants again, and you got the Cardinals. So it's not you don't have to play the toughest, but what does that say for Philly going into the playoffs, though?
I mean, through the hard part of their schedule, they lost, are they a favorite? It's so hard. It's not like I want to bet with them, but I could see them still going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
once the playoff comes, anything can happen. But if you look at it, only the Niners, I think it's the Niners and everyone else on that side.
Yeah, they do look like the favorite, right? And Philly, that's what I'm saying. Philly just doesn't look like they did to me
Right.
at this point last year. Like last year at this point, you really like, man, Philly's probably going to the Super Bowl,
Right.
and I don't have that. I don't have that feeling for them right now. So we'll see if they can turn it around here in the last few games. Let's see. So next game, Tampa, who's New Orleans at Tampa. Really big game for both of them. What do you got here?
Yeah. I'm taking the Bucks here because it's a home game, and the Saints have been so up and down this year. I got to go with the team that actually, I remember at the beginning of the season, Steve, you're like, can I really keep taking the Bucks? And now look, they'll probably be in the playoffs.
I
So
know, man. Yeah, with a 500 record.
yeah,
Actually, no, they'll because they win their last 2 games. What they go uh 9-8,
10-7,
9-7. Yeah, 9-7
nine
because
and
they're
seven.
so
It'd be
yeah,
10-7.
10-7 because they got 2. Yeah, they win their last 2. They go 10-7. That's not terrible. And they've won their last 4. Is the problem is they're hot right now. You know,
Right.
they're feeling good. Mike Evans is playing off the charts. So yeah, they look like that they're going to go to the playoffs here and win this division. So I can't trust the Saints at all. So I have to go with Tampa here as well. I think they win by a touchdown, maybe more. San Francisco at Washington. I mean, what's there to say about this? San Francisco's going to be mad, playing upset after this last game, and they're going to take it out on Washington.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a beatdown,
Yeah, there's
probably
no
by
even
by
point in watching
20.
this one.
Probably by 20, I would say.
I agree.
Yeah.
Not much to say about that game.
Carolina at Jacksonville. I mean, do you even pick Carolina to win ever?
I mean, it might be CJ Beathard playing, so we'll see, but I still got the Jags winning.
Yeah, I mean, Jags need the game, right? They're tied for the division lead. They still look like, they can win the division pretty easily because their last 2 games aren't tough. So Jacksonville has to win this game here. I think it'll be closer, obviously, with um, Trevor Lawrence not playing, but I still think they at least win by a touchdown. What's before we go to the next game? What's the situation in Carolina right now? Like, are you still comfortable with Bryce Young? Is he still your guy? Like, I've been a lot of knocks on him this year.
I mean, he's a rookie. You got to give him more time. Remember, like, Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions his rookie year. Troy Aikman was like 1 in 15 his rookie year. I mean, there's nothing. What do you got? You traded you traded away your picks and DJ, your best
Yeah.
receiver. So Yeah, the cupboard is bare.
Right. The cupboard is bare for sure. Because
Supposedly, the rumors are they're going to go after the Detroit OC Ben Johnson and give him like 15 million a year.
yeah. Well, I
So,
guess I mean, you look at it, I mean, his stats aren't horrific, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He just, not a lot of attempts, 60% completion, but his average 5.6. That's bad.
well, it's just he has nothing around him.
A lot of sacks. Yeah, not a lot to throw to. I don't know, man. I guess the hard part is like, I mean, I hate to go at his size, because it's always been a knock on him,
Right.
but now you got this 5'10, 190-pound dude, because that's not, you make the Manning comparison, right? Peyton Manning is let me pause this real quick. What's going on here? Peyton Manning, he's that prototypical quarterback. He's tall enough. He's got the arm strength. You know, he's got the pocket presence. He's got a lot of stuff you want when you talk about, oh, he's just a rookie and we're going to hang our hat on him.
Right.
Bryce Young for me isn't that guy. I don't think he ever was. So I didn't understand him being the number one overall. Well, at least the trade up.
Right.
So now that worries me. It worries me when he doesn't play particularly well and there was already question marks. So
Right.
we'll see what happens to him long run. Yeah. So other game of the week here, Miami at Baltimore. Should be a good game. Baltimore at home.
Right.
It's
Favored by
helpful.
3.5.
Yeah. What do you got here?
I'm taking the Ravens. Waddle probably won't play. Hill is still kind of banged up. I just don't think the Dolphins can go into Baltimore and win. So I got the Ravens by 7.
Yeah, boy, it's a tough ask for the Dolphins here. Um, I think they do win the game though. I am going to go with Miami. I mean, that's tough, Waddle being banged up and on the road, it's one of the best teams in the league. The problem is, I think Miami really needs to win this game. Baltimore obviously wants to win the game too. So I guess that's no excuse for Miami to win it, but I think we'll see what that Baltimore defense is for real. I guess they looked great against San Francisco. So if they come out and they shut down Miami as well, I think you're looking at probably your Super Bowl favorite. So it's a big game for
Right.
Baltimore here, but I'm gonna roll with Miami. Just got a feeling. Tennessee at Houston. Tennessee's eliminated already. Houston needs to win, but I don't think they're healthy enough to win. I don't know if Stroud's back or not. Limited in practice this week, but they're still missing the wide receiver group.
Right.
That's the tough part, right? So even with a backup quarterback, a lot of limited options on who to throw the ball to. Their running game hasn't been particularly strong. I don't know. Oh, geez. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee here. I think Houston's too banged up. I think Derrick Henry's going to get the ball a lot.
I'm taking Tennessee also. I feel like, yeah, Texans are banged up. They're young. They need another. They're like the Lions last year, where it's just you're not your year. You did really well, but it's
Right.
not the-
Not the year to get over that hump yet.
right.
Right. And, good job. Let's focus on next year. Although it's not over, right? Obviously, it's not over for them. And
Right.
and maybe they find a way to win. It's at home. and it's Tennessee, so it's not like they're playing a good team.
Right.
Who did they finish with? They finished with the Colts. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the way to finish right there. They win both games. Jacksonville loses one. Hey, they're right there.
Yep.
Pittsburgh at Seattle. This should be an interesting game.
Yeah, I'm just Gino's back. I got to take Seattle here. It's at home, and they're just a different animal at home. And the Steelers, I don't think you can expect Mason Rudolph to have two good games.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I'm
and
taking
this
the Seahawks.
Seattle's defense is a little bit better in the secondary, of course. And they're at home. So I think like Seattle has to win this game too, even though I think this is a must win for both teams, really.
Right. You got a
So
lot of
this should
games this week. You got some games that are like and then lots
right.
of must-win games.
Yeah, this is a dogfight though, because neither of these teams are playing particularly good football, but they both show moments of it. They've won big games recently. And so this is going to be a scrappy game. I'm going to take Seattle in a close one, getting that last minute field goal. So I'm going to take the Seahawks as well. Chargers at Denver. I mean, Chargers just look like the worst train wreck you've ever seen. So I wouldn't pick them to beat a college team right now. Although they played decent against Buffalo, um, I just don't think that they're up for playing. I think that last game was like, hey, look, we can still play, whatever. We're gonna try real hard. But now they're just like, whatever, the season's over. It's done. And Denver has something to play for, and they're at home. So I'm gonna roll with Denver by a touchdown.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm gonna go Denver, but they're dysfunctional completely too, though.
Right, right.
Jared
That's the big
Stidham.
problem.
They're basically telling their team that they gave up on the season, even though they're still in the playoffs. It's deja vu. This is what the Raiders did last year, right?
Right.
So I could easily see the Broncos losing here, but it's at home, so I'm going to take them.
It's a weird time to bench Russell Wilson.
Well, they don't want him to get injured. It's the Derek Carr thing. If he gets injured, they have to pay him.
Right.
So they can release him at the end of the year and not have to pay him.
Yeah. Right. So they're just like, yeah. I mean, and that's weird when you're not eliminated from the playoffs, but at the same time, it's a business. So that's the crappy thing, I guess, about the whole thing, right?
Right.
And yeah. And then you lose to the Patriots last week, that game against the Texans.
Yeah.
Because that was what's interesting. If you look at that Texans game, right? They throw the interception in the end zone. Let's say it's a touchdown and set. And yeah, your Lions are a better team. But then now you're, one game ahead of where you're at right now. So they're what, 9-6 instead of 8-7. Or
No, they're 7-8.
no, I meant going into the Patriots game.
Yeah, yeah.
They have a chance to go 9-6, right?
Right.
So then that Patriot game becomes more important, and you may not lose to a team like the Patriots. So it's just I guess that's the way it falls in the NFL. But they were at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, won 5 in a row up to that Texans game. 6 out of 7 through the Chargers game. So it's a weird season. It's a weird way to finish your season when you've won that many games to finish out your season,
Right.
especially after starting 1-6, 1-5. I mean, wow. So Broncos have been surprising, but yeah, they are quite dysfunctional right now. But I think I think Stidham can play well enough to beat the Chargers. You would hope, but you never know. Cincinnati at Kansas City. I think at home, like Kansas City's kind of a must win for them. Man, I'd
It's
like
a
to see
must win for both.
Cincinnati. Yeah, I mean, still, yeah, Cincinnati is definitely still playing for their playoff life. Browning has looked pretty good. I'd like to see Kansas City lose this game, but I just don't think they will. Cincinnati just did not look good last week against the Steelers. And so that's what worries me about this game. Although, Kansas City's having their own troubles.
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas City also. I don't think the Bengals were nice. It had a nice story, but it's kind of over now.
Right. Yeah. And losing Burrow and all that.
And
Green
Chase might
Bay.
not play, so
Right. Green Bay at Minnesota.
I'm going to take the Packers here because I think Jaron Hall's going to start for the Vikings. So
Wow.
I'm going to take the Packers here by 3.
Well, this is my chance to catch back up with you. I'm taking the Vikings. It's at home. I don't know. This game could go either way, to be honest with you. If it was in Green Bay, I'd take Green Bay.
Right.
Because it's in Minnesota and I don't trust Green Bay at all. But I don't, Minnesota, obviously, you don't even know who they're going to be playing at quarterback by the second quarter, So, but they have a lot of weapons in Minnesota.
Right.
So if you can just get them the ball, you'd be all right. But um, I need that swing game too to catch you. So I got Minnesota there at home.
Yeah.
So week 17, that's where we're at. I mean, we talked about scenarios obviously already. It's gonna be kind of crazy here going into week 18. Once these games play out, it'll take out some of the last few like real crazy scenarios, and it'll
Yeah.
come down to like very specific games.
Right.
And that's my favorite part about the end of the season is when it's you win and you're in type games. Those are real fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it up. Not a lot to talk about with HSC Podcast now that we're all out. Disappointing playoff loss for me. God, my team just played horrible. Didn't give me any points. Couldn't even beat a team that didn't even switch his guys. McCaffrey scored like 40 one game, 30 another game. I was like, he
Yeah.
pretty much single-handedly beat me.
And now it's 2 guys who haven't even ran their teams are going in the finals.
Yeah, we were talking about this on Christmas and Christmas Eve, and it's just like, how does this happen? I mean, we've had teams that haven't picked their teams before, or people who gave up first week, second week, and just did nothing. How does it happen where these two teams happen to have good records, 2 of the better records, and now continue into the playoffs?
I don't know. It's crazy.
It's I don't know. That's where we're at, though. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, disappointing year for me again. It's always something. It's either injuries or just my team decides not to score any
Right.
points. Then I had my alarm set so then I didn't get Hill out of the lineup because I was like, he's gonna play. And of course he doesn't. Oh man. What a weekend. But we'll keep it updated anyway, see who the best of the non drafting changing teams are and who's gonna win it. I mean, obviously it looks like Big Mike because He
He's got
finally
all
made a
everyone
substitution.
healthy, and
Did you see he finally made a substitution? What happened?
no, he actually is playing now.
He made a substitution because he had Keenan Allen in, and he puts in Brees Hall, who gets 40. I'm like, dude, come on.
There you go.
Right. So
At least he's
apparently when
playing. He did
yeah,
something though.
apparently when you do sub, you just make it that much harder. So I think Big Mike's looking at the championship here.
Yeah,
He sent me his ring size.
nice.
He's like, it's my ring size. So he knows he's winning. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like, YouTube, comment. If you're listening on Spotify, appreciate listens. Any comments? We do have the what'd you like, not like about the episode. And since we are getting more listens and impressions now, please feel free to comment on that. And we'll try to change what we can and make the episodes more enjoyable for you. So thanks, everybody. See you next time.